Hey everyone. I'm gonna wait for a couple people to join in. Oh, let me turn it around so you guys can read my mug. I didn't get out of bed to be ordinary. Never ever. My daughter's right here staring at me also, so if you hear her, she's right there. So today I wanted to talk about just a couple topics that have been on my mind, whether it's through reoccurring comments that I keep seeing on YouTube, not just my YouTube channel, but other people's, or through conversations with others, or just things that clients say. So I just wanted to touch on a couple topics, and feel free to talk in the comments as well, because it's a conversation. I do plan on saving this and putting it up on YouTube also, as I usually do. So the first thing is that I titled this, "The Cards Don't Pull Themselves," and that's because people keep giving too much power, too much credit to the cards themselves. And I know I've talked about this before, but I wanted to bring it up again and, just bring up the conversation also. These do not hold any power at all. These are just physical materials, a tool for the person that is doing the reading to channel, to call in energy, to deliver messages. As many of you may know, if you've been following my journey from day one, even when I had previous business partners and things of that nature, one of the card decks that I had created, it started off with just index cards and a Sharpie pen. And I wrote messages on that, and I would just pull messages with those to show that you don't have to have a professionally printed deck to read cards for channel messages to come through, because for every single deck out there, it originally started off as just an idea and either a writing on paper or drawing on paper or things of that nature. These cards hold no power. They are paper and images, okay? The reader holds the power. So when I hear people, saying like, they want to request a certain deck of cards, which that's okay, but at the same time, if you're dealing with a good reader, good messages, thank you. Yeah, if you're dealing with a good reader, and a naturally gifted, naturally intuitive reader, then it doesn't matter what deck they use. It doesn't matter what form of divination or what modality they are doing. Whatever message that needs to be delivered will come through regardless of whether you're using tools or not. So it's also important to remember that there are a million messages that can come through a card. A million ways. Yes, there are more traditional meanings to each one, which that's good to know. It's important to know if you're going to begin to read, but there's no need to, how to explain this? The cards are not powerful. Like, the cards are meant to trigger a message, and the rest needs to come through the reader, through spirit, through source, and the person that is delivering the message is a channel. So that kind of brings me to my next topic of unsolicited advice that I see a lot on YouTube, and I've talked about in conversations with people. You'll get people that will try to tell you should read cards this way or that way, or if a card jumps out, you have to take it, or you have to read a reversal, or don't read reversals. None of that matters, and stop telling others how they should be reading, because everyone has their own style. Everyone has their own comfort zone. And so whether they choose to use tools or not, they are going to go with what feels right to them. So what may feel right to you may not work for another person, vice versa. So it's important to remember that the cards don't pull themselves. So if this has no power at all, where's the power coming from? The person that is pulling the cards, right? Whether you're pulling for someone else or pulling for yourself. The cards don't pull themselves. So how could this possibly be the all-powerful message that's coming through? It's not the cards. It's the reader and how they see it. Or even as the receiver of the messages, what you're receiving from it. Because a reader can tell you something, but because you know your situation even better, you may even receive a different download yourself about it, and that's fine too. So the cards don't pull themselves, they hold no power, and whether you use tools or not, Spirit is going to deliver that message that needs to come through, as long as you are in touch and as long as you are comfortable in your abilities. And even if you use cards, it doesn't mean that you're not comfortable in your abilities and that you need them. You don't. But if you're like me, a lot of the time, especially if you're on a time crunch in a reading, and you don't want to be there all day waiting for the messages to come through. Sometimes it's lightning speed and sometimes it's slower. Sometimes just channeling the energy into a card the same way that people scribble, or the same way that people do channeled writing, or other modalities and forms of divination, pendulum, etc. Sometimes just pulling a card, especially for me, it will trigger a message. I'm like, okay, let's pull something random, right? Okay, we have keys on a ring and girl with a snake. Now, although yes, the messages could relate to what this says, but just seeing this, maybe I'm looking at the keys and that triggers a whole nother downloaded message from Spirit. And I go off in a whole nother direction that's not literally related to the actual message here, because this was just meant to trigger something, to trigger a message, and to receive other information. It can work that way as well. So there's no power in these. There's no power in these. They don't pull themselves. So therefore, the power comes from the person that is pulling the cards, the reader. So I wanted to talk about that. And also, yes, the unsolicited advice thing. It's quite rude, whether it's, even if it's coming from a good place and you think you're helping someone, still it's kind of giving that vibe of like spiritual colonization. Is that the right word? Yeah. Like a spiritual colonizer, imposing your beliefs on another or how they should do it just because it worked for you. Now, it's one thing if you're talking to someone and you're in it already in a conversation of exchange and like, I do it this way or I do it that way, or maybe they asked for advice. That's one thing. But just popping up and just being like, you're reading something wrong, you need to read it this way and it should be this layout and this and that. Stop that. No, everyone has their own way, their own style, their own, whatever works for them is what works for them. Spirituality is customized. It's custom made, tailored to that person and what works for them. And then the last topic I kind of wanted to talk about was how sometimes just coming into getting a reading with an open mind and open heart and releasing how you think it should go, releasing the type of verbiage or wording that someone should use. When you release all of that and just receive what is being given, and you have an open mind and the ability to have critical thinking as well, you'll get so much more out of your reading. A lot of people I see, and I know from personal experience, will ruin a good reading and a good message because the wording that they thought they wanted to hear was not given to them. Like, for example, this is just an example. Yes, based upon what I'm seeing right now, things look like they're going to go well, but they want to know the wording that they're looking to hear is, yes, you're going to get exactly what you want. Yes, you're going to get the promotion for sure. Yes, you're going to get in a relationship for sure, this or that. But when you try to force those words, exact words out, sometimes the deeper message that would have been there if you had just lived into the answers and let it play out, you ruin it that way. When if at the end of the day it was a good positive reading, live in, or even negative, just live into the answers and let it play out. You don't have to nitpick every single thing. If someone says, I see success coming your way, you know, I see some turbulent energy, you don't have to know exactly what time, what day, exactly what event is going to happen. It's going to happen one way or the other. Sometimes the energy flows in a different way than what you were assuming, but when you look back, you're like, oh, okay, I can see how that message fits in here or there. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you mess up really good readings when you want to know too many specifics, because that's not how life works. We're still meant to live our lives. We're still meant to learn certain lessons. We're still meant to be in the moment, and that is living into the answers. So take the overall energy and then use your mind, your critical thinking, and the knowledge of your situation, and you can see how this message may fit here or there if you open up and expand and look at it from different perspective, different views. I wanted to say that also. Hi. Let me see if this was anywhere else. You're doing so good, baby. My daughter's right here. She's being so quiet. Hey, girl. Let me see. I think that's all I wanted to say today. But thank you for those of you who joined in. If you missed the beginning, I will say this. It will live on IG temporarily and then eventually get transferred over to my YouTube channel. And if you do see this on YouTube, continue to comment in the comment section. I like to open up the discussion. I like to hear what you guys have to say, whether you agree or disagree. All I'll say is be respectful in your comments, because I have no problem blocking and deleting things that just irk my spirit. Because my channel is about good vibes. All right, bye.